Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the OpenText Live webinar series. My name is Gretchen Wurgis. I'm the Senior Partner Training Manager for OpenText Global Partner Program. And if you have any questions about the Partner Program, suggestions for future webinar topics, or just have any questions related to this presentation after it is completed, you can contact us at partners@opentext.com. Today's presentation will be in regards to tailored SmartUI user experience for improved productivity. But before we begin the presentation, I just wanted to let everyone know that we do record every OT Live session and make those available so that you can search those after the session has completed. And if at any time during the session, if you think of a question for the presenter, I ask that you please type it into the chat window by clicking on where it says Q&A at the top right-hand corner of your screen. I'll collect all questions and ask them of the presenters at the end of the presentation. So let's go ahead and get started. Our presenters today will be Paolo Ramoldi, Sales Executive with Answer Modules, and Patrick Vitale, CEO of Answer Modules. And with that, I will pass it over to Paolo.
Thank you, Gretchen. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Paolo. I take care of the sales and channel aspects here, and as Gretchen mentioned, with me is also Patrick Vitale. He's our CEO and one of the co-founders, and he'll be taking us into the demo later on. So just to begin, I'd like to start with some initial slides to introduce ourselves and provide some background information on how our solutions can be used within the SmartUI to deliver an enhanced user experience focusing on user productivity. So brief disclaimer, I guess I'll leave this up for a couple of seconds. Okay, so Answer Modules. First and foremost, we are a product-oriented company. In fact, our focus is on providing innovative add-on solutions for Content Server. We are an OpenText technology partner, and since last year, we've also joined the third-party solutions program as well. Therefore, we are now on the official OpenText price list. So, well, what do we do? Well, our solution, it's called ModuleSuite, and it's not a single product, but a collection of tools dedicated to extending and enhancing Content Server. With this, or by this, we have identified 4 key value propositions for the ModuleSuite. First of all, with ModuleSuite, we can extend the use case scenarios in which OpenText Content Server can be leveraged, meaning that Content Server can then be utilized in ways that were not possible before, or in scenarios where the effort was far too great to justify that sort of investment. Secondly, the tools within the ModuleSuite facilitate and accelerate the development of full-fledged applications on Content Server without the need to know OScript. And as per the focus of today's session, with the ModuleSuite, we can also improve the user experience. For example, customizing UIs, creating specialized dashboards, etc. So we'll be seeing all of that later on. And finally, if we considered these previously mentioned values, it's safe to say that we also safeguard investments made on Content Server, because you can get the most out of your Content Server with the reduced total cost of ownership. And these values also surfaced during a recent survey in which we learned that ModuleSuite customers were able to reduce their development time and therefore associated expenses by up to 70%, all the while delivering better results, which reflected in a significant increase in end-user satisfaction. So when we initially started looking at the SmartUI, our first thoughts were, so we've delivered value to Content Server. What benefits can ModuleSuite bring to the SmartUI, and how? Well, one of the key benefits that we saw right away was the ability to further enhance the productivity of end users by building upon those underlying user experience concepts associated to the SmartUI. Therefore, with an enhanced productivity and enhanced user experience, we understood that the ModuleSuite can also accelerate the SmartUI's user adoption, And from, if you will, a less conceptual point of view, another clear benefit is the fact that complex processes could be kept 100% within the SmartUI. So no need to switch back and forth between the classic UI and the SmartUI. So in order to achieve these benefits, there are three key elements. Well, first of all, with the ModuleSuite extension for the SmartUI and its library of widgets, we can fine-tune the surface information to meet specific needs, while at the same time also extending the range of sources from which to grab this information. The second element is forms, in particular, forms built with Beautiful WebForms. So Beautiful WebForms is one of the tools within the ModuleSuite, and it's a visual drag-and-drop form builder. This allows for easier form creation, but more importantly, it boosts the functionality of forms. So the forms created this way, they are fully integrated within the SmartUI, and therefore provide a seamless user experience, while at the same time providing a richer / more powerful forms that can be used in pretty much any scenario. And the final piece of our puzzle, is our tool ContentScript. So ContentScript, it's the first and only scripting engine for Content Server, and therefore allows for a much faster, easier, and more importantly, flexible development process by using standard programming languages. Within the SmartUI, ContentScript can be leveraged to provide behind-the-scene automation of sets of complex tasks without interfering with the user experience. For example, it's possible to perform a set of actions all with just one click. So a major advantage in terms of efficiency. So let's go a little bit more into detail on the individual elements that we saw in the previous slide. So the ModuleSuite extension for SmartUI, it's a collection of widgets that we created and that can be actually mixed and matched with the standard widgets in the SmartUI perspectives. So these widgets are quite flexible and therefore can be utilized in a wide variety of use cases and needs. And this is in thanks also to the fact that they are first and foremost easy to set up and easy to configure. Naturally, without saying, our widgets, they are fully compliant, and at the moment there are 6 of them, which my colleague will show during the actual demo. Okay. So as previously mentioned, Beautiful WebForms, they allow you to develop and deploy forms that are fully integrated and aligned with the SmartUI. This means they can be utilized for any sort of business application. When talking about the UI or user experience, it's important to note that these forms, they can be skinned without hassle so as to maintain a very coherent look and feel across the board. And besides providing, let's say, good-looking forms, the tool also delivers powerful forms. So one key aspect is that we can implement really robust client and server-side validation. So which, for example, in turn eliminates, it's called generic content server submission error messages, so contributing to a stronger user experience. Okay. So by implementing automations in the SmartUI, we can actually provide a seamless work experience in order to drastically increment the user's productivity. Part of this automation means eliminating the non-value adding steps in different processes, or providing enhanced dashboards that fully contain the functionality end users require. Let's say sort of a, if you will, a one-stop shop dashboard. And as previously mentioned, this level of automation is possible thanks to and backed by our customizable content scripts. So with this, I would like to hand things off to Patrick. I hope that provided a generic overview of the info for today. So just 1 second.
So hi everybody. So we are going to adesso. Hi everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah. So today I'd like to show you a few examples of what we can achieve with our solution applied to applications that were originally developed on Content Server 10.5 and that have been migrated on Content Server 16. So that is our starting point for today's discussion. So the first example I'd like to show you is a very simple application we have developed on top of our solution. So on top of ModuleSuite on Content Server 10.5. So here we have a Content Server 10.5 instance, and here it is our solution. It is a solution for managing supplier invoice management, supplier invoices. And basically the solution allows us to collect a set of information for the invoices that we have to manage. It is a solution that is meant for increase the productivity related with this process. So this is a set of made of a set of dashboards that allows the users to have very fast access to their tasks and to the information they need to review in order to approve these invoices. So the interesting things here is that we have customized a bit the UI for Content Server, working with our forms and creating or basically forcing Content Server to display the information into a browse view that is created dynamically on the basis of the content of our repository. And this is displaying information regarding the invoices, displaying in the columns information that are not even resident on Content Server, also providing a fast access to the most common actions. Okay. We also have a few buttons here that allows us to download the entire set of documents into, for example, a PDF that is created on the fly. And then this is the result of the merging of all the documents that have selected. So this is the PDF document that has been created. And a similar feature for creating an Excel file or for approving and rejecting massively this solution. So the same thing has been ported on Content Server 16, leveraging the flexibility of the SmartUI together with the set of extensions that we have available. So what I'm going to show you is exactly the same solution, this time working on Content Server 16. So basically we have a couple of perspectives. So this is the first perspective that corresponds to the set of dashboards. Works exactly the same. So I have quick access to my the most common actions that I have to carry on. And together with direct access to all my dashboards, I can review all the notifications that are related with my processes and my tasks. So I can review directly from here which tasks I'm supposed to work on. And it's exactly the same. And this is made with 3 of our widgets. So the first one is allows us to display a set of links in the forms of shortcuts to allow direct access to specific functionalities. The second one is basically custom HTML that can display almost anything. And this other widget is our news widget. In this case, we have created a data source that is fetching information from our process. The most interesting part is obviously set the dashboards, in which we have reused again 3 of our widgets to provide the very same functionalities that were available on Content Server 10.5, but with a much more pleasant and easy to use interface. So basically, we have again the set of actions that you can carry on, and we have all the documents that are under approval, and we can look at all the details. So for all the documents, the categories, the security clearance, and so on, obviously. But we also have the possibility to, again, download a bunch of documents in the form of a PDF, which is exactly the same that we have seen it, and in the form of an Excel file. So we can create an Excel file out of our selection. And the Excel file is pretty rich, so it's not just a common separated values, but is a complete Excel files with constraints on cells as well as charts, etc. And I can obviously, this is all dynamically generated, so it depends on the selection that I've used, but I can at any time change the selection and recreate the information that I want. Another thing I can do is to work with these other widgets. So this other widget is displaying basically the distribution over the suppliers of the incoming invoices. What I can do is to work with the 2 widgets combined, and they can talk each other. So what I can do is to use the first widget to filter the results of the second one. And this is providing a very nice user experience in terms of reviewing information very quickly, the information that I need. Obviously, we also still have the direct access to my to the actions that I can take on this document, and all together with all the other information related with the documents. And the way this is displayed is actually a matter of how much space you have in the page. So this is quite an interesting example. The second example I'd like to show you is a process managed through Content Server SmartUI. So what we have here is basically a process that is running, and we are managing a set of signing processes that talks with, in this case, with our DocSign integration with an external system. And what we can use our widgets for is to review all the tasks that are part of this process and all the instances of the running process. What I can do directly from here is to start a new process. So I can take the action of starting a new process, and I can do that through our Beautiful WebForms. So I can fill in a form, and this is the way form can be presented. So this is a standard, let me say, UI for our Beautiful WebForms, but you will see that you can apply also a much more, let me say, standard UI, if you wish, related with the different forms that you can create on Content Server. So this is another example of the same thing. So the interesting aspect here is that this dashboard has been created combining 2 widgets from our library. So we have, again, the actions and the dynamic node table, together with a standard widget that is from the standard SmartUI widget library. So this node table here. You can use this solution also for performing a more complex kind of automation. So if I wish, for example, I can go ahead and review this. So this example up here. And this is an interesting example in terms of the kind of automation you can achieve combining SmartUI with ModuleSuite, in particular using or relying on the capabilities of content script to be used as a callback. So what we have here is another very simple example of a dashboard built with two of our widgets together with standard one. So what I can do is to look at my repository. So we do have a repository made of 2 years and a week for each year, okay? So on these folders, we have applied a couple of categories. So we have basically, where is it? Categories. We have an expenses category and a week expenses category. And what you can do directly through this interface is to fetch, so to upload a document, so to receive the contribution for our users. So in this example, we are filling in an expense report. So I can fill in all this information related with the expense reports. And the kind of automation you can achieve is basically you can just drop your expenses report into a folder of these dashboards. The document has been automatically renamed accordingly to the user that was detected directly from the Excel file, okay? And the information from the Excel file regarding the expenses has been transferred automatically to the categories attached to this document, okay? So at the same time, the other widget, this widget here, is fetching the information for all the expenses reports that have been archived into this folder, and using this information to create these charts for showing me the distribution of my expenses. What I can also do from here is to download another file that will allow me to basically change the values for these for the status of these reports, and I can change it very quickly into approved, and I can once again re-upload it. And what the system is doing is basically using the information into the Excel for renaming, for changing the status into approved, and for moving the information into the category, so into the folder. So if you look at the folder here, so if we look for 5, you will see that basically the week expenses status is now completed because all the reports that were stored into this folder have been processed. You can use our widget directly into Beautiful WebForms. So if you like to build a process based on web forms, and you want to use in your web forms some widgets from our library or even standard widgets, you can do so. So here we have an example of a very simple form, basically again for collecting expenses reports. Okay. So from the template, I can go to my views and open my form builder, so the editor for Beautiful WebForms. And from here, what I can do is to just drag and drop a widget from our library. So here I can wrap it, I can redimension it. So I can do something like, I can select the kind of widget I'd like to display. So in this case, not tables. I can select a folder. So let's say the enterprise workspace, and I've just to save it, and I can redimension it, save my view, reload the form, and that's it. We have the widgets here available. And if I'd like to combine the two things, so if I like to, for example, to use 2 widgets, so the one for the 3 that we have seen, so I can do so. I have just to drop another widget. I can change, again, the dimension, and I can reduce my dimension and move it forward. And in this case, I like to use a 3, and I will select the tree directly from the one that we have used before, so I can do this kind of thing. And just to save it, let me mention it. And now I can reload my form. Oh, I did a mistake. So here I have to change the IDs, obviously. Okay. And so now we have the possibility to use the two widgets combined, so we can navigate our content server, still having the possibility to fill in our form. So I can enter any kind of information up here. I can still work very productively with my form. And I can display, for example, the most common usage scenario for this kind of integration is obviously not using a space but the attachments folder for your form. So something like that. You can obviously use any kind of widget. So it can be, as I told you, can be either a let me say a standard widget like this one, so like not tables, or can be any dynamic widget such as our own dynamic node tables. In this case, I can browse looking for my sales dashboard, and I can open my prospects. And I have to save it, otherwise this is not obviously working for some reason, so let me check. The open. Oh, I selected the wrong one. I selected a wrong script. So I have to save it, and save it here, and I have to reload it. So this is another interesting example of another dynamic widget created with, again, backed by content script that is displaying different kind of informations, and also is able to display different kind of multi-item actions that can be of different kind. So as far as the presentation is concerned, I think we have gave you a good overview of what is possible and feasible. And so if you have any question. So we are obviously available for, so we decided to left some minutes in order to be able to answer your question if you have any, and maybe providing you also some examples of what you can achieve and do with these solutions. So if you do have any question. Well, since we have still a couple of minutes, I'd like to show you also how easy it is to create this kind of stuff. So you don't have to basically work a lot in order to create a widget or let me say the script that is needed to provide information for being displayed into the widget. So I have an example here. Here it is, very simple example that is displaying information that is coming from two different sources. So the first one is coming from an external source, an external data source that we are querying, and we are basically reusing our news widget that can be used to display the content server news, so from any channel on your system, but can also be used, as I have shown you, for displaying any kind of information. It's just a matter of adapting the data source, so it can be anything. And on the right, we have a widget that is displaying the task of a workflow map that has selected. So in order to create this stuff, you have just to create a script. In this case, so you can work with the standard perspective manager. So from the perspective manager, you will have access to our library of widgets, and they are very easy to be configured, and they are quite flexible. And in order to provide information to your widgets, you have just to create, most of the time, a script. In this case, this is running workflows. Obviously, as for many other things in ModuleSuite, you don't have to start from scratch. So what I have here is a script that has been automatically created from a snippet that I have in my library. So I can select a node table snippet, and the node table just asks me for the workflow map I'd like to use for displaying the tasks, and just to save it. Okay. Save it, and that's it. I can test the result into this view, obtaining an error. Non era notable. So I pick up the wrong. So here is the right one. So for displaying workflows, okay. So again, and that's it. So I can reload my form, reload my view, and everything has been shown here. So to summarize, what we have experienced is that combining the flexibility and offered by ModuleSuite and the possibilities offered by these set of widgets that, again, are very flexible and can be adapted to be used in many different scenarios, we were able to help our customers to fully embrace the new SmartUI as their primary way of work with Content Server and their primary interface. Even if they like to create very complex and very rich application, as I've shown you. So again, we are available for answer some question. So one of the question is, what happens when users switch from Smart to Classic UI? Do we need to develop something specific to Classic View? Yes, if you'd like to provide the same functionalities for both Classic UI and Smart UI, you have to develop the two things. But again, the functionalities that you can use, so the extension, the ModuleSuite extension for Content Server UI and the ModuleSuite extension for Content Server Smart UI features very similar functionalities. So you can, as I've shown you with the invoice management application, you should be able to create the same functionalities on both the interfaces. Another question is related with the possibility of creating a report. Of course, as I've shown you, it's pretty simple to fetch all the information again from for example, the selected set of nodes or selected from a selection of information on content server, and to produce out of them an Excel file or a web report or a report that can be displayed either in the SmartUI or in the classic UI. So it's definitely possible to use this stuff also for reporting purposes. And you can also create quite complex PDFs using our tools that allows you to manipulate, as you've seen again in the invoice management application, that are capable of manipulating PDF in various ways, so that can be definitely used to create this kind of solutions.
All right, I don't see any further questions. If you do think of a question after we've concluded, feel free to email us your question at partners@opentext.com, and we'll be glad to get those questions to Patrick and Paulo to get you an answer. And with that, thank you so much to Patrick and Paulo from Answer Modules for your presentation today, and thank you so much, everyone, for your attendance. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.